What is up, everybody? Circle of Manias here once again, and we are getting into a brand new series, Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition. This is going to be the complete edition, as you saw in the intro that I made. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I really love this game. I've got somewhere approaching 500 hours total in the game. I've gotten all the achievements. I've played with everything there is to play with in the game. And I'm going to go ahead and go into new game real quick, just so we have some background music while I talk. But basically, I had this idea a while ago. About a year-ish ago, I started doing my level 1 playthrough, which ended up if you go watch the video for that, it'll explain what happened. But while I was doing that, I really wanted to start, in my spare time, I was playing around, just, messing around, and I decided, hey, I'm going to try and get one of every weapon in the game. And I actually accomplished that. Unfortunately, well, almost. There's one item I failed to get, which I'll explain when we get in game, because it's actually the very first item you're given. But yeah, so I thought that was cool, and I was like, well, what if I get like one of every item too? And that built on itself. And then I said, well, what if I get blah blah blah? And that's actually the character I completed all the achievements on as well. One downside to this run is I'm gonna have to. I'll try to remember to throw achievements up when I get them in post, because quite frankly I don't remember what all the achievements are. I think there's 41 total, and a lot of them are just for beating a boss. So unfortunately we're not going to get the achievement pop-ups, but I will be doing what's required to get all the achievements. Just for the completionist. And this is kind of like my big finale kind of for Dark Souls. I'll probably always come back and play it occasionally, maybe do challenge runs, do different things, stuff like that. But I just feel like I've reached a point where I'm like, I've done everything there is to do in the game. I've spent, hundreds of hours grinding the game to be able to do different stuff for multiplayer, and and I figured now that the last DLC for Dark Souls 3 just came out, I think a week ago or so, when I'm recording this. So, I just feel like it's a good time. Eventually, I'd like to play through all of the Soulsborne games. Obviously, I'd need a capture card first to do it for Demon Souls and Bloodborne. And then Dark Souls 2, I really just don't want to play. Every time I turn it on, I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? Ugh. But Dark Souls 1's the one I know the best, for sure. Followed by Bloodborne, probably now, because I've played a lot of Bloodborne. But I figure I figured it's time. So I'm gonna make this. This is called Dark Souls Complete, as you saw, or Dark Souls Completes. Not quite sure which I've decided to name it yet. And I've tried to start this probably 3 or 4 times over the last week or two. And it's just you have to get it going right. And the beginning of this game's kind of slow, just because of the fact that I have to do this intro video. Then the first episode is really just going through the tutorial area, and then the third episode is pretty much just a quick guide to the beginning of the game. So hopefully I can get going through all that, get into the game, and actually start having a bit more fun with it. So I'll go. It's like how do I explain it? This isn't going to be geared toward any one type of player. I'm going to kind of show all strats. I want to showcase everything you can do in this game. Be you a new player who's never experienced it before, this is the first time you're watching anyone play it, to the guy like me that's been playing for 600 hours and has done everything there is to do. He has watched speedruns, he knows bits and parts of the route, stuff like that. So as we go on, I'm going to play through. What I'm going to do is play through the first playthrough kind of standard-ish. I'm not going to focus on collecting a whole lot of stuff, not going out of my way to farm for items and stuff like that. The second, because in order to get all the items, we're going to have to play through at least, I believe, 3.5 times. So we'll probably just complete the playthrough, going into new game plus, I believe it'll be, to get all the weapons and stuff. As we go through, I might start random side challenges just to throw up as well. Like maybe I'll do another level 1 run. Who knows? Stuff like that, like a real level 1 run where it's not just depressing. I don't know, stuff like that. Like just show off different stuff. I'll be doing full videos later. This is like very near the end of the series. Once I've got all the weapons and stuff, I'll be doing a sort of like EMB did, where he did like a weapons showcase, an armor showcase. I'll do stuff like that to show off all the different weapons, show their entire move set, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Those won't be in the videos. They'll be like a separate video themselves to the series. I also am going to be using the dupe glitch later on. I've actually talked to a couple people, and I've actually gotten mixed responses to this. Some of them were like, "Yeah, who cares? Whatever. It's not like you're abusing it to super level yourself to play against people online." Then I had some people like, "That's a glitch. That's cheating." Well, the way I see it is, yes, it is a glitch, and I am exploiting that glitch. But I've played long enough, and I've spent so many hours grinding all of these things. Like, of the 400 plus hours, I've probably spent half of that just grinding routes. And I will show you guys all of the routes you can do to grind anything you could possibly want to grind. I'll show you how to do the route, what it's like, the best way to do it, etc., etc. I'm just not going to farm souls. I will have to farm other stuff. There will be other items I have to farm for. But I want to try and keep this fresh. Like, I don't want to play with the same weapon the entire game. I think that'll be boring. I'd like to try to show off some of the other weapons. You know, obviously I'll show them off in the showcase, but just as we're going, I'd like to kind of, you know, show you some different play styles and stuff like that. Like maybe do an archer build for a couple videos, you know, heavy guy, stuff like that. So this isn't going to be any sort of challenge run. My level is probably going to get pretty high toward the end of the game. So I've decided the rule I'm going to set for myself with the dupe glitch is I can dupe glitch as much as I need to, but I'm not going to let myself dupe glitch for levels. So basically what I'm going to dupe glitch is for secondary weapons. So I will farm and do whatever I need to do normally to get, say if I start with a longsword. If I get that to +5 and that's my base weapon, naturally that's fine. Basically what I'll be doing is dupe glitching in order to buy the materials to upgrade. Say I switch to decide to switch it up and go with an axe for a little while. Instead of playing with a low-level axe or spending hours and hours off-screen grinding for the materials, I'll just spend 5 minutes dupe glitching, go buy the materials, upgrade it to level 5, and continue on where we're at. So it's not... I think that's a fair compromise. I don't think it's breaking the game or doing anything like that. I think I've spent enough time, and I just want this to be a fun, interesting playthrough. So I don't want to burn myself out, it felt like that's what happened to EMB in his I believe it was the From the Dark series. Like halfway through, it just felt like he was kind of burned out with all the grinding he had to do to get different weapons to play with, and I really want to avoid that. So that's how we're gonna roll with that. And on the topic of dupe glitching, I will be showing you how to do that when it becomes relevant. I'll do a separate video to show you how that's done, why it's important, what it does, stuff like that. But this first episode, I've kind of rambled on enough. Let's get into actually explaining what's going on in the game. And obviously, this is going to be geared toward new players as well as the experienced ones. So the first episodes are going to be a little bit slow for people that know what's going on. For those of you that don't, though, you've come to the right place. So pick your name, pick your sex. You can be male or female. It doesn't have any effect on anything other than dupe glitching. Dupe glitching is actually easier to do as a male character, and we will go with the male character mostly for that reason. The class is also kind of important. Before I do that, though, I want to explain. Over on the left, you have a variety of stats there, level through humanity, technically. As you can see, every class has different stats, obviously. One thing you don't need to worry about in Dark Souls is any class can do anything you want. If you start the game as a thief, or say you start the game as a hunter, weak with magic, okay, that's fine. You can actually totally be a mage with him. It doesn't matter. This is literally just the very, very beginning. You can take your stats in any direction you want. There is no level cap. You can level as long as you want if you want to grind for the levels. So don't worry about that. Pretty much go with the starting character. I'd say just go with whatever weapon you like the most to start. We have the stats we have are levels. Every level costs more souls, which we'll get into when we get in the game, which are the currency for kind of like the experience in this game. Well, it's actually experience and currency, basically. So you kind of... Souls are an all-purpose thing. Each level costs more souls progressively until you get, to like 100,000 souls a level and stuff like that. Which will happen late game. So that's not a big deal at this point. There may be not even 100 difference, so don't worry about, oh, I should start level 1 to get the most out of it. Blah. It doesn't matter at this point. Vitality is going to be your health. Vitality is your health bar. The more vitality you have, the bigger your health bar is. So, that's one way. If you're dying a lot, there you go. Just take your health, fill your health bar up, take more hits. You got attunement, which is going to govern how many spells you're allowed to have equipped to your character at one time. I believe it's from 0 to 10. I think everybody except... It actually might be the Bandit. I think Bandit and Warrior maybe don't have an equipment slot for it just yet. I think that's right. But yeah, so that's just how many spells you can have equipped at once. Obviously, if you're playing a mage, you're going to want to put points into that. If you're playing if you're not using any magic, there's really no point in going down that tree. Endurance is probably the best stat-wise to put into your character in general, in my opinion. Not only does it increase your endurance bar, your stamina bar, so you can do more things before you're exhausted. It also increases your equipment burden. So the higher that is, the more, the heavier the armor you can wear before you can't roll or whatever. So that's a very, very good stat in this game. They change it a lot in Dark Souls 2 and beyond, but in this game, very strong stat. Strength, pretty self-explanatory. You can use, that's your, for strength weapons. We'll get into the scaling system later, but just know strength scaling, it's going to scale with strength, obviously. Same with dex. One thing to note on strength is you don't actually, if an item requires, say, 20 strength, you don't actually have to have 20 strength to use it efficiently. If you two-hand your weapon, it actually lowers the threshold needed. And so you can still use the weapon. So if you get whatever number you see on the weapon, which I'll show you when that becomes irrelevant, just know that that's not actually the number you need. You can actually do, I believe it's 3/4 of the strength or 2/3 or something like that. Dexterity is the same as strength for dex weapons, scaling and damage, but in order to use a dex weapon, you have to have whatever its dex is. So if it's a 40 dex weapon, I don't even know if there is a 40 dex weapon in the game, but if you say if there's a 30 dex, you have to have at least 30 dex in order to use that weapon and do any damage. Resistance is pointless. Don't ever take any points into it for any reason whatsoever. Literally, it's not worth the souls you put into it for the gains you get. I think it only increases your poison resistance, which is something that A, isn't really that big of a deal once you can buy the stuff that stops the poison, and B, you can actually get very strong poison resistance armor and stuff fairly easily, so it's not really a big deal. You've got intelligence, which is your magic. It's going to govern how much damage your magic does, as well as how high, as well as what spells you can use, similar to the strength and dex requirements. So I think the highest in the game is a 48 intelligence spell. I believe that's the Crystal Dragon Breathy attack. So in order to use that, you would have to have that much. It also kind of is tied slightly. Pyro and spells, Pyromancy we'll talk about when we get to the Pyromancer character. Pyro and spells are also tied to your dexterity in a way. For some reason, it seems like not a ton of people know this, but up until 40 dex, I believe it is, the more dex you have, the faster you'll cast the spell or pyro. So if you were to take a level 100 character with 40 dex and throw them against a stock level character with 10 dex, have them cast the same pyromancy, the level 100 character with 40 dex is going to cast that faster than the other character. So that's why you see a lot of pyro builds go heavy down the dexterity tree, just because it's going to speed up the attack for that, and it's actually really fun to go like a dex mage, get like a dex weapon, make it a magic weapon, go 40 dex, high intelligence, stuff like it's pretty fun. I'll show you some cool builds like that as we go too, but and then faith is essentially intelligence but for miracles. In this game there are miracles, basically miracles, magic / spells, and pyromancy. Faith is kind of like the it's more of a defensive kind of thing. There's a lot of healing miracles, stuff like that. So offensive is intelligence, more like defensive is faith. And the classes, we got the warrior, pretty basic start, what you'd expect. Got one of the best shields in the game, has a very solid weapon. He's got high health, he's got high strength, endurance, dexterity. A very well-rounded start. I believe he mid-rolls at the beginning, which we'll get into again as we go in. Mid-roll is actually my least favorite. I would rather fat roll than mid-roll personally, because if I'm going to mid-roll, I'm just going to throw on the heaviest armor I can and still move and just call it a day. But he's a very good start. The knight is very similar, just more tanky. He's got more health, less damage. So it's your choice. He heavy rolls, I believe, at the beginning. I think I've only started with him a couple times. The Wanderer is your dex start. They say it's high dexterity. He's actually the second highest dex. I really don't like this character start much. I don't like the scimitar, which he starts with much. Not one of my favorite weapons. But if you want to, he's there. Get to the thief in a minute because he, spoiler warning, is who we're going to start with. The bandit is actually pretty good. He's got another one of the best shields in the game. Got a very strong weapon. If you start the game and you double-hand that axe, you will pretty much wreck through the entire early game. So if you want to go, just like a monster attack crazy crackhead, that's your guy. The hunter, pretty unremarkable, other than he will start the game with a bow. Well, not start the game, but you'll get a bow very early on, before you leave the tutorial. So if you want to play through a challenge run of a full bow wielder, this is the only character you can do that with, because this is the only character that you'll be able to have arrows at the beginning. And I believe you actually do get enough arrows to kill the first boss. I could be wrong, but I believe that's accurate. So the sorcerer is your mage start. If you want to, he will get a catalyst early, which is basically a wand, and he starts with, I believe, the soul arrow. Yeah, he starts with soul arrow. You get 30 casts of it, which is pretty good. He's very good, and I believe the speedrunners mostly, the fastest ones, I think they all use mages for the all boss percent. I think that's the fastest playthrough, although the Black Knight Halberd might be the fastest. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, if you want to start with magic, choose him. Although if you don't want to, if you're undecided, you're like, I love magic, but I don't want to start with it, you can get the magic stuff and the miracles pretty much instantly when you get in game, so don't worry about it too much. The pyro is very interesting in the fact that he has a terrible shield. His weapon's average. His stats are, pretty balanced, and he's going to start the game with the pyro glove. Now, the pyromancy is unique in this game in that it has no stats that govern its damage. All of the damage is based solely on the actual item that you equip, the pyro glove, which you can upgrade at, I believe there are 2 places you can upgrade, or maybe 3. At least 2 places you can upgrade it. And you can upgrade it to plus 10, and then up to, you kind of ascend it, and then plus 5. It's actually very good. It's pretty much mandatory in all forms of PvP in this game that you have a fully leveled pyro glove ready to go. Especially helpful at lower, level 40 characters. Maxing pyro will give you huge damage on top of whatever weapon you choose. So we will not be getting, we won't have the pyro glove right away. We'll be getting it not too far into the game, and I'll show you kind of how it works then. Cleric is going to be your miracle dude. I don't really like anything about him. I'm not a huge fan of the miracles in this game. I don't like his starting weapon. I don't even know how good his shield is. No clue. Don't care. And then Deprived is actually surprisingly good. In this game, he actually starts with stuff. I believe in Dark Souls 2, he doesn't even start. He doesn't get a starting weapon, I think. But the shield's trash. But the what's it called? The club, actually pretty good. Does decent damage, and you get armor pretty quick in the game. So actually not as bad as you would think. All that being said, my favorite is the Thief. A, because he looks the coolest. B, because of he's got a shield that gives you for parrying, which is basically countering an attack. The shield that he has actually gives you bonus frames in which to do it, which is really helpful. I love his starting weapon. Not only does it have a high critical damage, it also causes bleeding, which is really effective against bosses with how quick you attack with it. And on top of all that, he has the highest dexterity and starts with the Master Key. We're going to start with him simply because I want to show off a cool little way to deal with the first area. The gift, you can basically it's just like an item you can take with you to start the game. There's only really one choice, honestly. Like, the only choice is really the Master Key. If you choose any class besides the Thief starts with it, so taking this would be completely pointless. The problem is it leaves us really with only one choice, which is the black fire bombs for what we're going to do. You could take the other one, so I guess I'll just go Goddess's Blessing, fully heals you and stuff. It's a one-time use, so it's really not that great. Black fire bombs allow you to do something really cool, which I'll show you. Twin humanities, one use item gives you 2 humanity. You get so much humanity, doesn't matter. Binoculars, literally you can get this item about 2 minutes into the game after the tutorial area. The pendant, the only thing it does is basically is an item, which requires me to get it. I could take it now to save the trouble of having to go through the quest line to actually get it, but since I'm kind of doing the complete series, I want to show the quest lines through to their completion anyway, so we won't worry about it. We'll get it in-game. Master Key we already have. Tiny Being's Ring. Actually, so if you were doing this, I guess if you were doing a complete series with any class besides the Thief, you would have to take the Master Key because you don't get one in-game. So I guess that's actually another bonus of doing this. But the Tiny Being's Ring would be really, really, really great if it did what it said, but it does not actually do that. As it doesn't recover your HP, it just gives you more, and it's not a lot more, and so that's kind of like a noob trap. I think it was just misinterpreted when they translated the game, but whatever. Don't take it, not good. And the Old Witch's Ring is going to open up some NPC dialogue later in the game. We can get that in-game as well, so we're not going to worry about it. Like I said, we'll start with the fire bombs. Physique, doesn't matter. Go with Slim. Face. You can edit this pretty intensely. I'm just going to go with the Astora Noble. I don't care. Go with the semi-long hair. I think we'll keep it black. And there's our guy. So once I hit this, I'm going to show the intro video, which I will let you guys watch. And then on the next episode, we will jump into the first area. So thanks for watching, guys. Before I get into this, I just want to say I'm super excited for this, okay? So, yeah, here's the intro cutscene, which I've seen so many times now, but it's still awesome. So I'll see you guys on the next episode 1, really. So, see you then.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty gods peeled apart their stone skills. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.